What's up, guys, and welcome to my channel. This is Cello the Fashion Fairy. If you want to learn how I made this, definitely keep watching. See you in my tutorial.
Every single day I'm gonna make something great. That's my way. Every single day I'm gonna make something great. That's my way.
So in this class, we will be looking at what we need for this tutorial. We'll be needing your fabric, of course, your tape, curve, your chalk, your scissors. We'll not be using any pattern for this because it's freehand tutorial. This is the back pattern and it's on fold, and the front pattern is in 2 pieces. So in order to know the measurements that you'll be needing for this, it's advised that you measure your child or whatever child you're making this for, and you use the measurements, or you can measure the child's shirt so you can know what exactly to use. But I measured, and this is the measurement that I have and I'm working with for a 1-year-old. So for this, I have 9 inches for the back and I have 11 inches for the front. So the back is on fold and the front is in pieces. Please pay attention so that you don't miss any part. So in order for us to begin, these are the measurements I'm working with. Like I said, you go in with your client's measurement to make sure you are doing the right thing. So for the shoulder, I got about 7 inches and I added 1 inch to it, making it 8, divided it by 2, and that is exactly what I'm marking on the fabric. And then I'm going in for the back. I'm marking 2.5 inches. So make sure you're marking 2.5 by 1 inch for the back pattern. And for our shoulder slope, I'm going in 0.3 inch for that, and I'm just going to draw that in. So I'm just going to mark a line downwards and make sure I have what I have on my upper part down so that I can have a straight line. Then I'm going to mark about 5.5 inches for the armhole. So this is me just shaping out the back neckline, and I'm just going to mark out the chest line so that I can draw in my armhole curve. So now that I've done this, not too deep, I'm just going to trace out my armhole curve, and this one I'm just doing is for the front pattern. So the front is going to be a bit deeper than the back. I'll show you when I'm cutting it how to go about this. So for the waistline, we're just going to divide whatever we have left, divide it into 2 and go in by 1 inch. This is so that the shirt is not just straight. I wanted to give it a bit of a shape, so I went in by 1 inch. So this is me notching the neckline so that I can trace out my front neckline as well. So from the notched area, I'm marking 2.5 inches as well, and I am just going to draw out sort of a square so that I can trace out my neckline. So this is my neckline for the front. If you have curve, you can go in with your curve. If not, you can still use your freehand. Both works. So for us to cut this, I'm just going to fold this in. I do this so I don't lose any fabric while I'm trying to join the overlapping. So when I cut this is what I have, and I can as well trim out whatever is not needed once I'm done sewing it in. You will see when I cut it off. So I've cut out my necklines for the back and for the front, and I'm just going in to make sure everything is prim and proper. So I'm just going in right now and I'm cutting out the back armhole. Do realize that the front armhole is deeper than the back, so it's only wise to cut out that first. So going into my pattern, I'm just going to cut out just a bit, about 0.2 inch from the front shoulder slope, so that it's a bit deeper than the back. So having done this, I'll just cut out the sides to give it a bit of shape, and then the lower part I'll just go up. I went up by 1.5 inches, and using my curve just decided to give it a bit of shape so that it wouldn't just be looking sharp at that edge. So I marked 1.5 inches and I just drew a curve. So if you don't have a curve, like I said, you can always use your hand to just give it a bit of shape. So this is looking good so far. If you're still here and you've not subscribed to my channel, kindly subscribe, like, and comment. So this is what we have so far. I will just go in a bit and trim out my front armhole just a little bit, because it's not supposed to be so deep, but I wanted it to, I didn't want it to have excess, because it usually does. So look at what it looks like, but I'm just going to leave it like this, and when I'm done, whatever the excess may be, I'm going to trim it out. So I'll set this aside for now, and this is what my back pattern looks like. So for the back, I wanted to add a bit of yoke to it. This is totally optional, and the fabric that you're going to use is totally optional to you. You can use same fabric, or you can go in with a contrast fabric just to make it look unique. So I decided to go with this color of fabric in order to create the yoke for the back. Now the yoke for the back, the shape of the yoke is totally up to you. If you want it straight, if you want it a bit curved, it's optional, and you can do whatever pleases you. But for me, I wanted like a curve, so I'm just going to create that right now. So this is how you create it. Put your fabric on fold, fabric you're using for the yoke, and you place the back pattern, and you just trace out whatever you have. So the yoke, I'm going in for I'm going to use like 4 inches, or highest 5 inches. 5 inches was a bit too much for me, but I did 5 inches so that by the time I would turn in the lower part, it will be about 4.5 inches. So when you're doing this, bear in mind that you have to add the allowance that you use to turn it in. So having traced out this, I'm just going to use my chalk and trace out the side, and then go in with the shape that I desire. So for you, if you want to use a straight pattern for this, you can just go in with your ruler and just draw it straight. But I didn't want to, so I wanted it to have a bit of curve. So I'll just go in, like I said, and just curve it out just a bit. So this is the pattern I'll be working with. So the yoke is all done, and I'll just be showing you how it looks. And this is how we're going to be attaching it, folding it in. So having done that, we're just going to move on. And form our pocket. So I folded about 1 inch in, and from that fold I marked about 4 inches. So I did like a 4x4 square, a perfect 4x4 square, and I marked it and I cut it out. So this is what it looks like. You can see that I folded in 1 inch, and I will be folding it some more when I want to add it, and I'll show you how to do that. So for this sleeve, I'll be marking 1.5 inch, leaving out 1/2 inch that I'll use to connect the two shoulders, and whatever is left, of course, I would measure it and I will use it to form my sleeve. So the sleeve I'm working with is about 5.5 inches, only because I wanted to fold in about 1 inch. So if you don't want to do this, you can totally skip this. And then the width I marked at this point was 5.5 inches. I wanted it to be big so that as they are growing, I can as well always adjust it the way I see fit. So from that point, from the upper part, I marked 2 inches down and I marked a straight line. Please make sure that whatever you get from the armhole measurement, that the width of the fabric you're using covers that. So this is what I have at the end of the day, and I'm just going to go in with that slight curve, and I'll go in quickly to go and measure it to make sure that I have about 9 inches, which was what I got from the armhole. So quickly cutting this so that I can move on to the next pattern. Pretty easy, Abby. Guys, if you're still here and you've not subscribed, what are you waiting for? Okay, so we'll be needing 2 of this, and here we go, we have 2 already. So I wanted to design the sleeves, and I went in by 2 inches and I marked a straight line all the way through. So I actually wanted 2 strips, 1 for each hand, and I wanted to even have more so that I could also use it for other decorations. So I just wanted to make sure it would cover 1 sleeve, and it did. I just cut this out real quick. So the width, entire width of this was 4 inches, and I divided it by 2. So for my pockets, I just wanted to give it a bit of like a class, you know what I mean. And I marked like 3.5 by 4.5. So the essence of this is just to design the pocket. You can totally skip this if you don't want it. So on fold, we're just going to form like a triangle, and I'll go and iron this. I'll show you later how you will use this to be designing the pocket. So we're just going to cut off the excess part and set this aside for further use. So this is what we have. We're just going to iron and keep. So for the pants, the shorts, this is what we're going to be using. Of course, this fabric, I folded it into 4. I'm sorry, I didn't know my camera was not rolling. I had already finished this part before I realized. So you can see the chalk marks on it. So I just decided to do it like so, to redo it. So this is what I have, 2 inches on top, and this is for the elastic that I'll be adding. So you're supposed to fold this in, right, and then determine the length of the shorts you're working with. I decided I was going to go with 8 inches or highest 8.5, and I left about 2 inches there to fold it in. This is very important because as your boy is growing, you can always bring it out, increase the length, or do whatever you please with it. And it's usually very nice to look at it if it's a bit big. So in order for you to determine your crotch length, you're going to divide the hip by 4, and you're going to add a bit of ease to it. So for the width, you're going to divide the hip by 4, add a bit of ease, and you add about 2 to 3 inches for the crotch extension. So hip divided by 2 plus ease, and then plus about 2 to 3 inches for the crotch extension, and you're just going to draw it out like this. So I had to go in with another scissors because this one was blunt. So this is what you will have when you're done, and this is what it looks like. So I'm just going to go ahead and bring out everything that I have. So I had to actually do more pieces, more strips, so that I can design as much as I would like. So this is the pocket that I've done so far. I've gone into iron the yoke. I'll set this aside and show you how I did the pockets. So I folded in about 1/4 inch inside, and I folded the rest out like this, ironed to keep in place, and I also ironed in the side. So this is what it looks like, the design I wanted to go in for. So it's up to you to know if you want this. So this is me ironing the sides in, and for the bottom part I still ironed it in. I had to get another fabric to iron it with because it wasn't just working. So I ironed everything, made sure everything was prim and proper. Please take your time in doing this so that your pocket is not wavy at the end of the day. So I found the middle part and I folded it like a triangle. So that's the bottom part of the pocket, and I just added this, and this is how it looks like at the end of the day. So for you to know where to place the pockets, I'll show you how. But first of all, this I wanted to show you real quick. So I folded in about 1/2 inch. Remember, I put 2 more inches for the button extension. So I folded in 1/2 inch, remaining 1.5 inches, and I folded that into 2. So one side of the front is actually longer than the other side of the front. So I wanted this to be where I would tack my buttons. So I wanted it to sit properly. If you've been having issues with balancing your front, this is why. So do it like so and it fits perfectly. For you to know where to place your pocket, make sure it aligns with your chest line and just drag it a bit away from where the button will be, and you are going to sew it down. But don't forget to sew it down this part first before you sew down the stuff. So this is the sleeve. So I've gone ahead to iron it. I folded in about 1/2 inch first, and then I folded in about 3/4 inch. So this is about 3/4, and this is the strip I cut out. So I placed this inside and I'm left with this. So I'm just going to go in with my machine and I'm going to hold this piece down and cut off any excess that I may have. So I've attached the pockets real quick. Remember to hold the triangle part first before you attach it to your shirt. The triangle part of the pocket, that's what I mean. So this is what I have, and that's the excess that I had on the button overlap, and I cut it off. And this is the back, what the back looks like. So this is me going in to make sure everything is good, and then I'll be going in to hold the shoulders in place. So if you can see, the pieces are aligned perfectly. So this is me holding in the shoulder with about 1/2 inch, and on the other side 1/2 inch as well. Using my interlocking machine, I quickly cleaned that out and I will show you what I did again. So the sides I held in about 1 inch, but please, by the time I was fitting it, I saw that it was too big. So I finally took out 1 more inch. So if you're doing this, please take out 2 inches. You can cut out the excess or decide to leave it inside. It's up to you. So while you're shaping it, just take out 2 inches instead of 1, because I found out that it was too big. So holding in the other side as well. If you want to fix your sleeve before you do this, it's totally optional. You can choose to add the sleeves when you're done. So just do what works for you. So I'm just going to quickly go to the interlocking machine and clean out the sides and the shoulder so that I can finish it up and know I'm done with that. So this is me showing you that it fits perfectly. There's no side that is bigger than the other. The front is not smaller, because people really have this issue when they are making shirts. But it fits perfectly. So I'm just quickly going to interlock this and I'm back. So I've gone to clean it out and it looks pretty. So moving on, I'm just going to I want to run a stitch on the shoulder. So I'm just going to fold this the other way, facing the front, and I'll just run a stitch through it just to hold the shoulder in place. I always like that look on shirts, so I decided to reinforce it so that it looks fine. So whatever you do on one shoulder, please do it on the other shoulder as well. So for the lower part of this, I decided to fold it first. So I folded it in first. I didn't fold it twice, just once. I wanted to go in first to hold it down and then turn to the right side and finish it up. A lot of times when you see shirts that are not done well, sometimes it's because the person folded twice and didn't really pay attention to what it looks like in front. So I learned this from someone. I think it was on YouTube that I even watched the video. So she folded in once and then she now folded it again. So she now did it on the right side. It came out pretty good, so I decided to try it. So folding it again, I will be sewing on the right side just to make sure my stitches come out perfectly. So this was what I did, and it was really nice. So this is looking good, very good so far. So I'm just going to go in with the sleeve, and I will be doing this offline. I didn't want this video to be unnecessarily long, so over to the shorts. I've gone into sewing it. Please don't mind that I have too many pieces. I'm making for 2 boys, so all you need is your use 2 pieces for the back and 2 pieces for the front, essentially. But I know I have like 8 pieces there because I made for 2 boys, so don't mind that I have more than I should. Just work with the one you have. So this is what I have so far, and this is the front and this is the back, and we're just going to go in by the side to sew it in. So what I usually do is that I sew in both sides, and then I will fold the lower part before I join the crotch area. So before I join that part, I'll just fold it in. Remember when we were drafting the pattern, we added 2 inches for the elastic, and we also added about 2 inches to fold it in. So just making sure I have what is right, I went in and I ironed it. So you can see that it's been properly ironed, and I'm just sewing it down so that it's as neat as it can be. When you iron as you sew, it makes things pretty easy. So having done this, I did it for the upper part as well in order to attach the elastic. Remember, we left 2 inches for that. So just closing this up, I will now go over to the waist and fold in my 1/2 inch first, and then fold it over 1.5 inches. So you fold in 1/2 inch first, and then you fold it over 1.5. That's 2 inches in all, and then you sew down. So I'm just going to quickly show you how I did that. So this is the waist now. This is the waist, and I'm just going to fold in 1/2 inch, and then but make sure you don't sew all the way through. You can leave about 1 inch so that you can pass your elastic with it. So I already did this off camera, and this is what it looks like. So I'm just going to close out that 1 inch that I left to pass the elastic. So just like that, we're done with the shorts. It's pretty easy. There's no big deal with it. So this is what we have so far, and I'm just going to measure my neckline because I want to create a collar for this shirt. So make sure you carefully do this, because if you don't get the accurate measurement, the collar stand will not work on it. So just take your time in doing this. I have a whole video dedicated to how to make a shirt. Don't let me bite my tongue. On how to make a shirt for a grown-up. It's still the same process that applies, and I'm going to drop that video very soon. So this is what I have for the neckline, and it's about 15 inches. So The 15 inches, I will now mark it on the fabric I've dedicated for the collar of this shirt. So here is what I have and is on fold. Just wanted you to show to see that it's on fold, and I folded lengthwise. So when you fold your fabric like so, the 15 inches we got from measuring our neckline, we're just going to mark that here. So this is the 15 inches, about 15 inches. I think it was like 14 3/4 or something. So marking that, I will just mark 1/2 inch on both sides as my seam allowance. I'm going to do it here as well. And then going in with my ruler, I'm just going to mark a straight line. So now that we have a straight line, I want my collar, the entire collar, like I said, to be 3 inches. So for the collar stand, I want the collar stand to be 1 inch and then the collar fall to be 2 inches. But because I need to add my sewing allowance, I added 1 inch, 1/2 inch to attach it to my shirt and 1/2 inch to attach it to the collar fall. So the entire length will be 2 inches, which I'm marking on both sides. And I'm going in with my ruler to make sure I have a straight line as well. So we have a perfect slim rectangle, if you may say. So next step is to mark 1/2 inch up from that lower line. We're going to mark 1/2 inch up. This is because our neck is not straight, so we need a little bit of curve to enable its balance on the neckline. If you don't do this, it's never going to balance. So we are going to find the midpoint of this line and then connect it to the 1/2 inch up that we marked. And we're also going to do that for the other side. So to ensure that I have enough seam allowance for this collar stand, I'm going to measure the 2 inches up and do the same for the other side as well. So remember, we already added our sewing allowance to this. So by the time we're done folding everything in, it should be about 1 inch left. So I'm going to mark 1 inch away from the side. Actually, I later did 1.5 inches because of the 1/2 inch seam allowance on the side. So I marked 1.5 inches from that side and I connected it all the way to it, making a curve like a lazy C, just to give it that shape we usually see on shirts. So this is what it looks like so far, and it looks beautiful. So for the collar fall, we're also going to draft this on this collar stand. I wanted to draft everything at once. So remember, we've already added all the sewing allowances. You don't need to do that anymore. So I'm just reinforcing it so that you can see it properly. So for the collar fall, I'm going to mark 2 inches on top. The 2 inches is without the sewing allowance. So for us to have the sewing allowance that we need, I'm going to have to add some allowance to it. I realized this after marking it, so I had to go in and I decided to use the whole fabric left because it was 3 inches. So from this point I measured about 1 inch, and I measured 1 inch from the other side as well to enable me draw in my collar fall. So essentially what you will do at this point is to measure 3 inches. So remember that we are adding 1 inch of sewing allowance to this. So I initially measured 2 inches like I said, but I added 1 inch of sewing allowance to it. So this is what we have, and I'll measure whatever we have at this point and divide it into 2 just to get the midpoint, because I wanted to give it a bit of shape as well. So drawing it in from this side, I marked approximately about 1/4 inch upwards from the middle, and I connected it like so. So this is what we have so far, and if you decide to cut this open, this is what you would have. So but I didn't cut this open, I left it unfold for the upper part. So we're done with this, and we're just going to quickly add our 1/2 inch to the sides and cut. So I've gone ahead to cut, and I also added paper stay to this. I didn't want it to be very thick. There's collar stay, but this is for a child and I didn't want it to be heavy, so I used paper stay for it. And I also, this is the collar. You can see I didn't cut it open, I just ironed it down. And I'm just going to go ahead to go in with my sewing machine and sew up the collar fall. So this is how it's going to look at the end of the day. So going over to my machine, I quickly stitched up the sides and I cut out the excess, went in with my scissors and brought it out, make sure it was looking sharp, and I had to sew everything down. So I sewed it down all the way to the sides. Make sure you iron as you sew. So this is the collar stand, and I notched the middle part. I also notched the middle part of the collar stand. Now my camera cut this off, so I had to loosen it, and I needed to show you the way I did it. So this is the way I did it. I actually sewed on 1/2 inch and turned it around, and this is what I had at the end of the day. So I'm still going to go in and reinforce that part to make sure everything is flat. If you're still watching, thank you for watching. Please subscribe. Thank you. So this is what we have, and I'm just going to do this quickly and show you guys what it looks like. So I've gone ahead to open it up. So this is what it looks like. I had to use pins to secure. So make sure you use pins first to secure this other part first to the back, and then you turn in the other side. So I'm going to attach this way first. Just watch closely so that you don't make any mistake. So having done this, this is what it looks like. And then I'm just going to fold in the inner part and notch it first. So don't forget to notch the neckline before you sew in this part so that it will relax very well. So I already did that. Went in with my pins, secured everything, and then finished it up. So guys, this is what it looks like. I went ahead to put in my buttons and my buttonhole. I decided to do those off camera, and this is what the shorts look like. Very neat and nice. So guys, if you enjoyed this tutorial, kindly subscribe to my channel, like, share and comment. I can't wait to see you in my next video.